Hey guys, the chiropractic conversation never stops, and I'm here live now with Deed Harrison at ChiroFest 2017. Tell me, Deed, what was your talk about today, and how are you impacting lives with the CBP protocols?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Jim, for having me on here. My presentation at ChiroFest today was threefold. Number one, something that every chiropractor needs to be aware of is the new ACA Choose Wisely public position statement. You know what, and I don't like to, badmouth chiropractic organizations, but this one is not a good public position statement. The ACA put out an anti-chiropractic radiography and long-term care statement for the public to choose which chiropractor to go to. And it's basically, it says, don't go to a chiropractor that takes x-rays, don't go to a chiropractor that takes post x-rays, don't go to a chiropractor for long-term pain management. And in my opinion, it's the worst thing ever. So what I talked about is what is the research that counters and negates that, and what I'm going to be doing with the ICA to put out a critical analysis of this ACA public position statement so it doesn't take off. We don't want the public to choose a chiropractor that doesn't take an x-ray. How else are you going to find out what the spine looks like? And then what I talked about is how the spine and the pelvis interact and predict what a sagittal plane profile should look like in a typical subject, and how to look at and identify who doesn't fit the normal profile of the pelvis with their spine alignment, and how we can do something about that to correct it. And then finally, the third thing I talked about was brand new randomized trials that I'm doing with my team that supports long-term corrective care programs and shows that we can improve patient outcomes by doing spine correction and utilizing x-ray to determine what type of treatment, if any, is needed. So those are the three things that I talked about today.
And tell me this, why is research so important for the chiropractic, the whole world of chiropractic? Why is it vital to the future of chiropractic?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jim. Everybody out there, you need to realize research is a very challenging topic. It's huge, right? You can never design a study that answers everything. What you do is you answer one or two questions. You develop hypotheses and you test those hypotheses and you see what is it that we are actually doing. Research is at the core of every new innovation that we've ever had in chiropractic. It's also at the core of, how we help people. The public needs to know that chiropractic is an evidence-based, proven system, and that we keep current and we improve things. The profession does. We change, we update, and we keep the tried and true. I mean, hands down, we are spine specialists and experts, and the literature shows that. With back pain, with neck pain, with health and well-being, chiropractic research evidence points the way. But it also, it offers new frontiers and new things that are going to be found tomorrow. And that's the issue.
And something for me that I wanted to touch on is some people out there that are watching might not know what chiropractic biophysics is, or as we like to call it, CBP. Shine a light on them quickly and tell them what chiropractic biophysics is and why it became what your life passion is.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so chiropractic biophysics is the corrective care side of chiropractic, if you will. It will actually marry or merge with any chiropractic intervention system out there if the doctor allows it. It is mirror image adjusting, mirror image exercise, mirror image traction. We call it the EAT protocol. Simply put, is you reverse the patient's position of their spine and their posture, you exercise it in that opposite position, you adjust it in the opposite position, and you traction it in the opposite position. So it's really the corrective care rehabilitation side of chiropractic, and not by name only. When I say corrective care, I mean we are physically correcting the spine. And honestly, that's why it's my life's passion. It's because we're able to physically change somebody's spine and or posture. And when you see what it does for somebody's health and well-being, you can't help but have a passion for it. And of course, it was my family's, work, so I was kind of forced into it as well, right? Yeah.
But getting to know you, Deed, when I got into the chiropractic world, I started working in a chiropractic biophysics practice. So I joke around and say, yeah, I got my bones in the CBP world. Yeah. But I learned so much about what your dad's work was and what your work is, and I learned from guys like Jason Yeager with Universal Traction System, and some of these guys are just dedicating their whole lives to doing research, like the Haas's, and there's so many great chiropractors out there that are following your protocols, and I congratulate all of you guys that are out there that are touching touching lives with the chiropractic biophysics model. And I know you guys do some really cool stuff with your Find a Doctor profiles on the CBP website. How does that work for people?
Great comments and statements. Before I answer, like, how do you find the patients or find doctors out there, I just want to touch on what you said. My father named CBP for a reason in the 1980s. He named it Chiropractic Biophysics with actually Dr. Dan Murphy. They teamed up and they named it, my dad's former wife at the time and Dan Murphy. They didn't want to call it Harrison's technique. It's not a person. It is a physical entity system that's based on biomechanics. So you brought up several doctors that are, you know, basically a huge part of the CBP team. Jason Haas, Jason Yeager, Paul Oakley, the list goes on and on. If I didn't name you, I'm sorry, guys and gals. I mean, you know who you are. It is truly a team. It is not a me. It is not just a family, even though it was my family that started it. And that being said, what we've done is we put together a doctor directory for the public to identify who is and who is not a CBP trained certified chiropractor. And if you just go to www.cbppatient.com, you can look up CBP trained chiropractors all over the world, and you can identify who actually does this corrective care system. Right.
And you know, that's fantastic that there's such a resource available for them. And I don't know, do you guys sell like the Denerol system to people that aren't CBP docs?
That's a good question, too. Number one, the Denerol products are really the flagship home care product for rehabilitating the sagittal plane profile of the spine. That being said, they're a prescription-only device. We don't sell to the consumer because there is a risk. If there's a benefit, there's also a risk. So you've got to select people properly for it. So number one, we don't sell to the consumer. Number two, you have to be a licensed healthcare provider, and you have to have the ability to read and interpret X-ray as part of the Denerol protocols. You don't have to be a CBP-trained chiropractor to use the Denerol, although we strongly encourage it. As long as you are familiar with how to read and interpret X-ray, you can learn how to apply the Denerol. And we do have training protocols for it, so you got to make sure that you learn the indications, contraindications of how to use this device appropriately, because, again, the first rule of thumb is do no harm. We want to make sure they're actually a candidate for the Denerol.
And I just want to flip gears real quick. I know you got a really cool training facility in Idaho. Yeah. Tell people about this amazing place, because I saw when it was like a blueprint, and now I see what's going on there.
Oh, great. Thank you for bringing that up, Jim. Really appreciate it. The CBP flagship center is in Eagle, Idaho, just outside of Boise. And it was really a dream that my late father, Dr. Don Harrison, and I had. And he actually told me I was crazy for wanting to build such a thing. But we built a $2 million facility. It's 12,000 square feet, and it's really the largest true corrective care training facility in the United States. We have a full-time practice in there with 3 chiropractors. We have a fitness area that's amazing, and we have a conference center that's 2,000 square feet. And then, of course, we have X-ray and all the gadgets that we need there. So we train, not only lecture like you would do, at typical conferences, but we break up and we do the hands-on training because we have so much equipment there. It just makes an amazing, amazing experience to get trained in a hands-on manner.
Well, if you guys don't know about CBP and the chiropractic biophysics community, now you do. From Deed Harrison. He is one of the most amazing guys out there that are supporting the chiropractic profession and really, giving the blood, sweat, and tears to grow what you do and to help so many people, man. I just love and appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me on the interview.
Thank you so much. And I found myself nodding up and down when you said I was amazing. So I'm watching myself. So nobody give me some crap out there for that. But, Jim, thanks so much. I love what you do. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so everybody, I have a few more going tonight, so stay with me. I love and appreciate everybody that's giving us some love out there. And if you do like this, hey, Fred DiDomenico, you just joined us. You're catching the tail end. You're going to have to go back and catch all the gold nuggets that Dee dropped out here. But if you did not make it to ChiroFest 2017, I would just suggest you really consider getting here in 2018, learning from some of the greatest in the profession, guys like Deed Harrison, and Paul Reed puts on a world-class event out here in the Pacific Northwest. And if you aren't here this year, get here next year. We're out.
Thank you.